Since its conception in the belly of Nintendo, the Switch 2 has been the most straightforward console and somehow the most controversial. From the hype train to the protests, political interference, anti-consumer trends, user agreements that threaten to dox your entire family, mod protection. And like any pregnancy, leaks, you can blame this guy for that. Weird metaphors aside, perhaps the funniest part about such a drastic reaction to the Switch 2 is a reminder on how not real everything you see on the internet is, because after all of this, it seems to have only helped the console. There's been a lot of Switch 2 criticism, and a lot of it is incredibly valid, so I'm not here to defend the console. I ended up buying one. I always planned to, but that was my decision. But saying that I enjoyed this console is a strangely combative opinion to some people, so I'm not gonna lie. Hearing this news, I got a little burge going on. I never really got the chance to express my thoughts on the console, and what better time now that it's actually out? Because honestly, most of this was just par for the course. History has shown that if a Nintendo console sells well enough, they will usually follow it up with a similar sequel console. This should come as a shock to no one. Consumers have already proved their interest in buying it, or at least they're familiar, meaning less marketing and justifying. You got other perks like backwards compatibility and upgrade promotions. Therefore, the Switch 2 was never going to be a huge surprise. Anyone could have predicted it. The Switch 1 is, at the time I'm writing, close to Nintendo's best-selling console. Not my Gen 4, not my Truly, not my Etrian Odyssey, not my Ghost Trick. I just wish it was widescreen. Locking in for the Switch 2 was all but the obvious next move, but when you look at the most recent Nintendo sequel consoles, you may notice something. The Wii U was very expensive. Actually, up until the Switch 2, it was their most expensive hardware yet, and of course the 3DS launching for an absurd $250 before folding in a mere 4 months. 4 months. My dad at least waited all 9. They are both centered around trends of the era, like 3D and tablets. They showed zero interest in reversing features that fans disliked. That is to say that when it comes to starting fresh, we see a more flexible Nintendo wanting to separate their new console from any former identities, including pack-in games, a faster reveal period, a lower price, demos, and events to show how this device works. Please buy our console, senpai. It's good now. We promise it can run Skyrim. And when it comes to the sequel consoles, we see a display of confidence. Re-enter the Nintendo Switch 2. Expectations build up for years, along with ops. Many times before has Nintendo started a trend only for it to be adopted by competitors. How could the Switch 2 clear itself from the Steam Deck or the ROG? Is that how you say it? The ROG. Can you smell what the ROG is cooking?
I love my ROG Ally.
Oh, okay, the ROG, the Junior ROGT. The Switch 2 is officially shown in January. Most people are cool with it. Compared to what's coming up, it seems like a different realm now, remembering the small bit of backlash. Some people saw this and said, yup, that's a Switch 2. Great. And others were more disappointed at Nintendo, father of innovation in creating things you could never think of, creating something not innovative and that you could very much so think of. It put forth a question of how much risk we expected from the company. By the time we actually get to discuss it, to me, this is the biggest flaw of the Switch 2. I didn't know what was going to happen when I drove home after the Switch midnight in 2017. I didn't know what was gonna happen when I opened up a Wii U for Christmas in 2012. These consoles were wonders where even if you read up on them as much as possible, you could never imagine the experience you'd have in your head beforehand. To play was to perceive. But this right here is Nintendo's most obvious console and my easiest prophecy. I knew I'd drive home, unbox a screen, 2 Joy-Cons, and a dock, start a system transfer, and pull up to the same uncharismatic UI that should have died a long time ago. Just the same as upgrading from an iPhone 14 to a 15, because this is not a new console, it is a Switch 2! Kids these days will never understand the leap. They'll never get a Nintendo Wii in 2006 and experience motion controls for the first time. They'll never stare in disbelief at having an entire Zelda game able to be played on the go, or have a Super Nintendo for years of their life, only to get a copy of Mario 64 and have their imagination explode like it was hugging a microwave with a bunch of forks inside it. Nope, none of that. Instead, they will experience numbers. Yes, I may be unk, but you know what else I am? Dehydrated. Hold on one sec. Okay, within the stagnation of technology, though, is a great opportunity to showcase games. Games are always evolving, and even if this new Switch felt like it wasn't, by the time of the full Switch 2 Direct, holy shit. This is the desert storm of Nintendo Directs, I think, with a lot of announcements really solidifying everyone's interest until immediately after, when there was an influx of online information that for whatever reason was not discussed in the Direct. The Switch 2 using virtual game cards, the Switch 2 menu staying the same. And yes, it is pricey, but guess what? That's before the new American administration's tariffs and inflation, tariffs and inflation, tariffs and inflation, tariffs and inflation. Okay, I guess never mind on that after all. Is it strategic that Nintendo didn't bring up any of these highly flammable details in the Direct? Probably. Either way, it's kind of hard to see it as not, leading to a bigger problem that I think a lot of people have with this company. Who the fuck are these people? Listen, were the Wii U and 3DS too expensive? Yes, but these prices were revealed in a presentation with Reggie, so it felt more brave and sincere. It was ultimately a mistake, but Nintendo was confident enough to put a man on stage. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of modern Nintendo, that element of community where Nintendo had faces and you could very clearly tell that these were the people behind these types of games. But Reggie left and Iwata passed. We got this new dude, Shuntaro Furukawa, who unlike former presidents is rather shy of the spotlight that comes with such a position. Because of this, many have theorized that his blood is all business and no gamer. If you Google him, you'll only find pictures of him doing official things, and yet not a single video game in sight except this one image where he's holding a Switch, frown smiling like it's a stranger's baby. It just doesn't help the greed allegations that Nintendo deals with constantly. Neither does this. Okay, so the Wii had $50 games before the Wii U brought them to $60, and the DS was about $35 before 3DS moved them to $40. Unless you like Atlus games, you may as well just die. Nintendo has yearned, lusted, I dare say, for the $70 price point for a while, so it's not surprising after years to see them transition. That said, Mario Kart World at $80 is some that unfortunately is very in line to either incentivize the Switch 2 bundle for $500 or probably because it's the best seller on a majority of their consoles and they know people will pay it. This leads to the drop the price campaign that, oh my god, seemed to go nowhere. I mean, to be fair, you can be a dual camper in this situation. Hello, my name is Voyan. I'm not thrilled about the price of the Switch 2, but my Switch 1 is from March 3rd, 2017. It dies in 20 minutes and sounds like an air fryer running Tears of the Kingdom. So I always wanted a Switch 2, not happy about the price, probably complained about it somewhere on GameSpot. Good luck finding that. This, though, I mean, is the evil cousin of asking Nintendo to revive an IP that you have zero intention of buying. Bill Trinan, on the topic of faded Nintendo legends, you guys remember Bill, came out to defend the pricing model by saying that it was about the content. And as more details came out, gamers would finally understand why it cost so much. I don't know, Bill. Doesn't feel like you can credibly say that the same year Donkey Kong Country Returns HD launched for $60. Maybe that's what I would have said 2 months ago, though, but guess what, motherfuckers? I got a Switch 2, and I got Mario Kart World, and there's a very deep irony when you're going next gen with an $80 Mario Kart, a game taglined as being open world and with a 24-player battle royale style mode. Maybe we really are trapped in 2017. My very fast Voyan thoughts, not a full review. I've never been a Mario Kart buff, and I've only put a few hours into this because it's always been foremost a multiplayer experience to me. There's a lot of single-player content, though, and the open world is beautiful with all of its remix music, but I don't know. It's just not what I would have envisioned as the quintessential launch game in an absolutely no world, not even of the Mario Kart variety, should it be $80. $80! We recognize there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available, so people still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe, be a part of these characters in these worlds, and see value, if you will, in whatever rung of the platform they come in. There has gotta be a name for this type of approach at telling people, F you, pay me. Like, dude, you want me to buy a Switch 2 for $500 when I can save that money and buy 5 copies of GTA 6 next year? At this rate, will I at least get a $40 Pizza Hut gift card a year later? Look, when I pre-ordered this console, I thought I would be all over Mario Kart World in the GameCube emulator, but in a very unforeseen plot twist that maybe strangely, the thing that I'm excited about each time I turn this console on is actually the game chat. In this Direct, it looked like trash. It still does. It costs money while Discord is and has been right there, but I guess purely out of shock and novelty. We've been chatting in that bad boy playing games simultaneously. On launch day, when a person popped online, I'd invite them to chat and just ask, like, how are you enjoying the console? And it was very nice. I got to talk to a lot of people. I can't wait to see how much easier this will make games like Animal Crossing. Do I think it has staying power? I don't know. Honestly, who knows when it comes to any of the Switch 2? Maybe the console was just off to a strong start thanks to Nintendo loyalists, the same way the Wii U had a great 2012, the year it existed for a month and a half in. But whether or not people will be able to afford this long term is a valuable question, as well as the much more daunting, what other games are gonna be $80? What games are gonna be frickin' $90? I tried out a bunch of stuff that I wouldn't normally have during the Switch, like Astral Chain and Ring Fit. I'm not so sure that'll happen this time around. But I guess at the end of the day, even if people make their intentions clear, you can never truly tell.
By the way, Nintendo, lower the prices of the Nintendo Switch 2.